called get paid what you're worth. It says get paid what you're worth ? Like a rising inflection. Like get paid what you're worth. Do you get paid what you're worth? We can alter this a little bit. Let's get. Oh shit. Okay. There we're good. Hey, welcome back.
Welcome. Good afternoon.
Dude, too much. It literally just started. Give it a minute. Let it settle. It's been 31 seconds.
Good afternoon.
No, it's are you getting paid what you're worth? Like the rising inflection happens.
Good morning.
Good evening. Oh shit. Got these cool little light sticks.
Light sticks.
But they don't really work too good, so you gotta be super close on them. Be like, oh, what's up? All right, getting paid. Oh, they left. They were there and they're gone.
Why?
Because we were boring. Wait,
You're
not worth the time.
You're not worth the time.
Don't follow me, bro, because you're not worth the time.
Time is the most valuable resource.
My control's here. Thank you.
What's up,
Thank you, Chet. All right.
Time.
So the concept right now is, do you get paid what you're worth? My buddy here recently found the option of finding new employment.
Finding new employment.
Okay.
Getting paid what I'm worth.
How do you negotiate that?
What determines that? How do you negotiate it?
Well, I threw out there
What does that even mean?
I threw out there that you're only worth what somebody's going to pay for you, right? Like it could be if I throw out $200 and somebody pays $200, then well, that's what I'm worth. My dad used to tell me when I was younger, he'd be like, "Look, you're gonna go through life. You're either gonna get paid too much, you're gonna be overpaid, or you're gonna be underpaid. You're never gonna be like, you know what, I get paid exactly what I'm worth." Yeah, I see that's right.
I'm still trying. So I like to go dig into the understanding behind what we're trying to understand. That even makes any sense. I don't think it makes any sense. It just sounds provocative.
But as a person, you're not going to be like, I'm going to take less money. I think as an individual shooting for a job, you're going to want to ask for as much money as you can possibly get.
Yeah.
And so if we frame it in like, well, I'm only worth $12 an hour, or $25 an hour, or $100 an hour, when the budget is $200 an hour, whoever is paying for you gets a steal. Because the first thing I think it comes down to, what is the value they're trying to add by hiring you as a person? Like, what is the gap that you're going to fill? You go to the grocery store and they're paying those people, check people out $12 an hour. What's the gap they fill? Well, some people don't have to check their own groceries out. You got somebody in there that's doing that. They're kind of watching the front, making sure people don't steal. $12 an hour, that kind of makes sense. But what about if you're doing some type of leadership coaching? You are going to fundamentally change how that company operates by your presence being there. It might be a multi-million-dollar company. How much are you worth?
That's good, man. I love it when I love how you frame it up like that.
Because I think, go ahead.
No, I'm processing.
You got to go up the impact that you make. You can't, if you look at this binary, you look at yourself as just a number. Like, I'm $60 an hour. Okay, well, what kind of impact am I making?
What determines it?
Chat's got a great comment here. I've worked with people who aren't worth what they're paid, but I've also seen people taken advantage of. Exactly right. Because you'll look at people and you will outwork them, especially people that have been there for a long time, and you'll be like, why are you getting paid so much? Because the impact that you're having is not conducive to what you're being paid. But I think that's like an artifact, though, because you have people that have been there for a long time, and that's a management issue, not getting rid of people because they're not performing. And that's being okay with subpar performance. So think about it as you're coming new into the company. You're going through a round of hiring, and they're like, all right, what is your salary expectations? I think that question, and you frame it like that as a very cold number, is disingenuous to the person. What kind of impact do you think I can make in your company? This is what I bring to the table. Oh yeah, restaurant industry for sure.
I don't know, man. I'm trying to understand where this whole concept comes from, because we're taught that you're given a wage and that you need to accept it. That's kind of what you talk about the restaurant industry.
Scarcity mentality.
Right, but we go restaurant industry. I started out in the restaurant industry, fast food chain.
Yeah.
I know I'm only going to make this certain amount.
Sure.
It doesn't matter what I bring to the table. It doesn't matter if I'm a great teammate. That doesn't matter. So that automatically develops that scarcity mentality, I think, and you have to overcome it. So now what I'm trying to overcome at this point in my life at 43 years old is, what am I worth? What do I bring to the table?
Oh, dude, solid. So you're going from a cog mentality, this mentality of I'm interchangeable. I'm $12 an hour. That means like if I leave, you come in, $12 an hour, boom, I can get you up and running like that. I worked at a couple different restaurants serving. And my favorite place I worked at Fleming's, which is fine dining. Think like Morton's, Ruth's Chris Steakhouse. And there was this guy that I worked with, Josh. He'd been a server for a long time. They never could get him to go be a manager. And I was like, dude, you're like, he was in his 50s. I was like, what are you doing? How are you not in management? And he's like, dude, I make much more money as a server. I was like, okay. Because it was based on performance. So I would watch Josh. Josh would come in. The dude drank wine every single night. So he could come in and articulate the notes of every single wine that they had there. He'd make suggestions. He could read a table based on the bottle. He never wrote down a thing. The guy would sell the dish they would make. They make a special dish every day. He would sell it out every single day because he was so articulate and so good at adding value and being like, guys, you have to try this. It's this fresh tilapia with this chimichurri sauce. We've got a great white wine that I know you guys are going to love with this. And the guy was just a natural salesman. He could have made millions of dollars doing other types of sales, but that was his view of the world. But I run too long here because his value, he was looking at the restaurant as a transactional piece. You know, they paid him whatever they pay servers, but he made his money in tips. It was based on his performance. And I think we lose that mentality when you go into a job where they pay you by the hour and they're all of a sudden, or a salary or whatever, and you lose that freedom because Josh could have gone to any fine dining restaurant and done killer. It was because of the value he added. I think they would have paid him extra as far as server wages go to keep him there just because the dude was a freaking money. So how do you take that mentality that there are a bunch of restaurants that have this, I can take my skills to any one of these and translate that into the professional world?
I don't know, man. I'm so stuck right now on the mindset of what we're taught to believe. And in the restaurant industry, I could be making $12 an hour, like you say. And I'm adding, like Josh, a lot of value to the organization. But for me, maybe it's not Josh, but for me, I'm going, well, I'm only worth $12 anyway.
Cog versus specialist. I would say Josh is a specialist. So when do you have the mental shift of going from a cog to a specialist? This is the value that I bring. And I think it's a couple things. I think it's being able to, especially if somebody doesn't know you, if you haven't built out content to build that trust, that you can clearly articulate what you will do when you come into that company. You have to be so money on that. And then when they're like, well, how much do you expect to make? Well, I see you're a Fortune 500 company. You guys do $15 million a year. I think that I can help you double your revenue. So I charge $250 an hour, but what that gets you is this.
Yeah.
You got to get the conversation past the number, and from the number go to how you add value.
Here's an interesting phrase I heard recently, and it really has also just caused a lot of reflection. And it was because I had a career in the military. I was in the military for 20 years, and I had this conversation with a very wise person, and they said, and it's somebody that understands value of people and understand, you have to be willing. What is an hour worth to you and your time?
Oh, dude.
Time is the only limited resource.
Agreed.
It's the only limited resource.
Yep.
Everything else is unlimited.
The equalizer.
The equalizer. So what is an hour worth to you? And he said, and I said, well, I think an hour is worth this to me. And I'll never forget the way he said it. He goes, you military guys have no idea how much you're worth. I think because for 20 years of my life, I was told exactly how much I was worth.
Yeah.
And there was no understand. I mean, everybody knew how much, based on whatever rank you had on your sleeve, how much that person, regardless, me and you are the same rank, same exact rank. I add extreme value to the team. and meaning morale, meaning I have these great team building abilities, I have this great leadership, and you show up for work every day and get a paycheck, but we make the same amount of money. So I think that locks something in your brain. Well, I'm only worth this much.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to get this in your mindset. Like, how much is
you or
me?
you? Okay, you said you like me. I'm good. I know this.
Yeah. Well, no. We as a people.
We're not a people. Like, do you?
I do.
Okay. Let's use some.
I have
some good pronouns here. I like that.
I can't even. It's like the hair is getting in your mouth.
Dude, I'm good with. I like the hair. It's fine. We're good. We're good here. All right.
I like that look with the shaved head. I mean, anyway, I have to understand that my hour is worth something, and what is my hour worth? So I don't know.
Don't judge it like that. You can't. You got to judge it based off what value you add, and then you make the decision. Say if somebody's only going to pay you $25 an hour, is that what I want to exchange my time for? I think we don't have that conversation with ourselves. We're like, oh, thank you so much, sir. Can I have some more? No. Wrong way to look at it. Wrong way. It needs to be, this is the value that I add. This is, I know what I can do for you. If you don't want to pay that, that's fine. I'm sure I can find somebody else who will like to take advantage of this. It's going to be good for both of us.
How does ego not get in the way?
You have to have a little bit of ego. It's not getting in the way. I think it's an asset. If I'm not confident in my abilities to perform, then nobody's going to have confidence in me.
But if you go into an environment saying, I'm worth $1,000 an hour.
Here's why. Here's what I'm going to do. The first 30 days, this is what I'm going to do to show that value. Chad's got a good comment where you have to show that you're an asset, then you can ask them for more money. I think that gets it even to be more complicated though, because once you set that line, you snap that chalk, it's really hard to move that number forward unless you're a consultant where you're renegotiating your hourly rate. I think if you come in early on, you come in the very beginning of your career, that's why people are jumping careers so much, because it's really hard from an HR perspective for them to be able to give you more money, especially when they start to look at you in relation to your peers. That's why it's always encouraged to hop company to company.
Yeah, that's very, man, my brain is spinning right now because I've seen that. I've seen that happen.
Mm-hmm.
And then a conversation I had recently was based off of consulting fees or consulting hourly rate. You can go, well, I can go negotiate a higher number later on down the road. But the comment that was made to me was, if you settle on what you're worth, so
underpaid.
If you settle on, if you say, okay, I feel like I'm worth $50 an hour, don't be pissed off when somebody comes in making 100 that does less than you. Mm-hmm. You have no right to be, because you sold yourself too low, and that's your fault. But I think to the point of the chat, like it's too hard. It's too hard to renegotiate a higher number. I mean, you can, but it's difficult if you come in at $75 an hour and then you prove that you're worth $100. You still got to sell that to somebody.
Sure. But I think that's where it helps you out. And if you guys think about this, once you establish that value and you build artifacts, you can sell those artifacts to other companies being like, look, this is what I do.
Use a fancy term that not all of us understand. What does artifacts mean?
Oh, so you're building your credibility. So these are the indicators where somebody outside of your organization, your company, you can point to and be like, look, I did this project. It saved $2 million over the year. Here's exactly what I did. It builds your value within the company to where maybe you could go back and renegotiate for more money. But it also helps you when you're trying to talk with other companies and being like, hey, this is my value proposition. This is what I've done. Because I'll tell you guys right now, past performance is the best indicator of future performance. I'm going to say it one more time because that's solid. Past performance is a solid indicator of future performance. I'm not saying it's the end all be all, but I'm saying that when you can articulate and show what you've done and how you've built value, you will immediately make yourself more valuable to whoever you're speaking with.
Which you just pointed out something that's very key to me. How do you show that? How do you show this past performance? How do you do it?
You show it based on the numbers that you generate. So
So what are you saying?
So like my industry is all around being able to show improvements, and improvements are something that's tangible and measurable.
Yeah.
So maybe you're trying to save a specific dollar amount. Maybe you're trying to save time. Maybe you're trying to be able to increase throughput, increase production, those types of things. And that's how we would add value and show that constantly improvement of performance, being able to show those metrics. What were you thinking?
I went back to a conversation I've had with so many people.
Okay.
And I would say you only know what you're the only one that really
You?
knows.
You?
You. Well, I'm talking to somebody.
Weird pronoun. Say,
I'm talking to somebody.
say
No, I'm trying. I'm developing this
We
story.
don't have to relate it, but go ahead.
I'm the only one that knows what I've done.
Exactly.
Because people are
Good
going,
pronoun usage.
well, how do I show what I've done? I'm like, are you tracking what you've done? Are you tracking your value?
Mhm.
Are you tracking whether you've met, first of all, the standard and how you've gone above and beyond it? And there's so many people out there right now that go, no. I'm like, what do you mean no? Well, I'm not. Are you not writing down what you've done? Are you not writing down what you've accomplished? Are you not writing down how you've moved the ball down the field? No. Well, whose job is that? It's my boss's job.
No!
Absolutely.
Get the
Get out.
get out.
Get out.
Done.
Yeah.
No. A resume is just an indicator of the jobs you've had and what you've done. I think that's a great comment. So the resume is a good piece, but you should be tracking individual projects. Like put it on your Evernote, put it on OneNote, put it on something that you can show consistent progress on.
Yep.
It's like people when they build out their LinkedIn. You'll see some people will take their LinkedIn, they'll upload their resume and be like, boom, done.
Yep.
And there's nothing wrong with that, but you're not maximizing what you could do with that platform.
Yep.
So if you use that to start tracking projects, what I've started doing recently on my LinkedIn is typing out little bits about, hey, this is what I'm working on. This is what we're trying to do. I'm trying to build credibility outside of these rote job functions and give them more personality into what's actually happening. Because I need somebody to pay attention to that should I want to go market myself in the future. LinkedIn is your best piece of content generation for keeping you employed. As long as you're constantly putting stuff out there, you're not going to be stuck with your one company because, guys, when you're at your one company, they're the only people that know what you're doing unless you're broadcasting it out to a wider audience.
How did you learn to do that?
I just started. It was like investing all my money in a single stock if I stay at one company. That company is just going to keep it to themselves.
Why do people not start?
People don't start for a lot of different reasons. Because they don't know how. They think that they're safe. They think their job is safe. They feel like they can go and do whatever they want to do. But it's not. Jobs are not safe. You could work the same job for 20 years and all of a sudden they turn around and fire you one day because a job is not a personal relationship. It doesn't matter. If they're not making money, they're not going to keep you employed. They're not going to keep paying you.
But I say that, the reason I asked the question, because you didn't ask why I asked the question, because it's phenomenal.
Why do you ask?
Because that seems so simple. Start. Yet people will hesitate. It seems so simple. Start. Just start doing it.
Do you have a LinkedIn?
I do.
Is it just your resume?
It is not.
Okay. Are you generating content?
I am not.
Why?
I don't know. That's why I asked the question. Because it seems so easy to start. But then when you think of the starting, there's a lot of questions that come into it. How long is this going to take? What does this look like? Oh my gosh, this is going to take me time, my most valuable resource. But it all goes back into worth. It's the LinkedIn portion of it is showing how much you're worth.
Sure.
Showing how much value you're going to bring.
Or not even how much you're worth, just showing how much change you could introduce. So I literally started off my LinkedIn content was just freaking quotes out of books I was reading. Just business books I'd read. I'd put a quote out there. I'd get some interaction, and then I would just write my thoughts around it.
So why LinkedIn instead of Facebook, Instagram?
LinkedIn is professional. LinkedIn is where your job people are. I think when I think of Facebook, I think of my grandparents. When I think of Instagram, I think of people just taking pictures. The focus is different. You have to think of the intent of the platform you're working on. I think that you can get people to buy stuff on Instagram, but I don't feel like Instagram is the way you market yourself as a professional. I think Facebook is a great funnel for if you're marketing a specific product and if people are clicking through to that, that's phenomenal. But as far as using Facebook to show how you're professional and how you have evolved as a person and work, it's the wrong medium.
Yeah.
TikTok, I mean, I'm not going to do it. I think TikTok is great, by the way, because of all the different content mediums you can generate with it. It's not a professional place, though. I mean, it's mostly 13 to 15-year-olds.
Yep.
And that's who's driving all
You're
that
going to
content.
grow your brand.
Sure.
Yeah.
But they're not going to be wanting to read about how I did a process improvement or about how I worked with a struggling team and turned it around. That's just not what they care about. But if you're doing some B2B type sales person, and you're on there just looking at other content that people have put out, and they're like, oh, this is a problem I have. Click. It's all about problem solving. The people on Facebook are searching have different problems than the people that are on LinkedIn searching, looking for different content. So chat's got a good comment here. I always prefer in-person interviews. It's hard to get the message across online. That's right, because you don't understand the intent around that, or I wouldn't understand the intent around that. That's why you have to just smother them with content. Give them so much of a history to be able to look back at them and be like, I kind of understand how this person works based on these different stories they've posted up and shared. So I'll throw something out there. I like to use Buffer. If you guys are wanting to get into generating content, Buffer has a free platform. You can connect your LinkedIn to it and just type up a couple posts at the beginning of the week, and it auto posts them for you. You can do 10 at a time for free. You literally just think about your day, like any of the struggles you had, sit there and write about it, how you solved it, what you did to help and add value. And that's just a great way to get started posting content. Buffer.com. I use it. I don't get paid for this. You should definitely check it out.
I'm going to check it out. I have not seen it until today, and I'm going to start using it.
Yeah.
I'm just still reflecting on the whole mindset behind. I'm stuck now because we're talking about worth and how much you're worth.
Mm-hmm.
And we're looking at the different social media platforms, and I'm going, right now, these days, people talk about influence.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to be an influencer because influencer becomes, I can market certain things. I can brand certain things.
What is an influencer?
Somebody who's seen. I could go back to an earlier YouTube live and say somebody who's seen, I don't know.
You know what I'd say an influencer is? Somebody that other people just pay attention to.
Yeah.
Somebody that garners attention. That's worth somebody checking out. How do you become an influencer? I mean, I'm sure if it was easy, everybody would just do it. Say it louder and prouder.
Create content.
Okay.
Create content.
Yeah.
Create content that allows people to relate to you.
You ever heard the phrase, be so good they can't ignore you?
Yeah.
I think you could go one step further and say, generate so much content they can't ignore you.
Yeah.
If you put out so much material that nobody can be like, well, I don't know who that is. Even if it's garbage content, people still pay attention to it. Look at TikTok. There are some people on there that get followed that create absolute trash, but they're posting every day, every hour. They just generate so much consistently.
That's why I love you.
That's all you gotta do is just generate content. Because
But here's my brain. Though.
here's my wedding ring.
Here's my brain. Look at this. I'm saving you all day long. That's what I do. Here's what I'm thinking of. This is the problem that we get into. When you say generate content, I go, it's got to be good.
No, it doesn't. You can generate garbage content. If you get into the habit of generating, you eventually get better. If I go to the gym and I say, all right, if I go to the gym, I got to bench press 315 pounds. I've never benched that much in my entire life. If I go in with that thought that I've got to go in and do it perfect the first time or be strong, you're not going to be strong. How do you get stronger?
Consistency. Consistency.
That's right. You got to be consistent. You can put it out. You'll eventually get better. Your technique gets better when you go to the gym. You're going to get better at writing content just from the habit of building stuff. We'll get better at doing these videos. Why? Because you do them more, you get better at it, you start doing it, you start getting a good feel for how you interact, and people start paying attention. It's not hard, but it's not something that's easy either.
So here's one of my stories that I'll share right now. I had the opportunity to have a conversation with one of the New England Patriots. And I asked them, because I'm a leadership guy. It was not Tom Brady. It was Tom Brady. It would have been phenomenal. And I would have had more questions in this one.
Okay.
But it was with a New England Patriot.
What was his name? Didn't you share it?
He is a Tennessee grad. that played for New England.
I don't even do sports. Like, what's his name?
His name's Justin Coleman.
Okay.
He played for the University of Tennessee. He was a cornerback, not a quarterback. Tom Brady, cornerback. And now I believe he's playing for the Detroit Lions. But at the time that I had this conversation with him, because I'm such a nerd when it comes to leadership stuff, because I want to know everything I can about it. And Bill Belichick has been called the greatest football coach in the history of football.
Not by me, but go ahead.
But by a lot of people, they've actually said they're going to change the Vince Lombardi trophy. They should change it to the Bill Belichick trophy.
I don't know where this detail is going, but let's go back to the story.
Back to the story. So I asked this player, Justin Coleman, I said, hey, man, I want to know what's the one thing that makes Bill Belichick different from every other coach? What makes him a great coach? And he didn't even pause. He said, consistency. And I walked away going, okay, and now let me understand what that means. So what you're saying is this whole thing is about content and consistency putting stuff online, whether it's good or bad. It's just consistency. People want to see your face out there multiple times. That's how you become an expert in your field.
But no, I think that you have to be good to show that you're good. But you have to, like Chat's saying here, you have to crawl before you walk. You have to start to build that up. Eventually, people are going to start paying attention to you because your stuff gets better. Yeah. Gary Vaynerchuk talks all the time about when he started Wine Library. For the first 2 years, the only people that watched his videos were his mother and a couple of friends. And then all of a sudden, he started to get better at it. People started to pay attention to him. And dude has just leveraged the heck out of it.
He just kept dumping content out there.
Every day, consistent content. And he got better at it. He started involving his brother into it. He started getting better at marketing. He started doing all those things that nobody really thinks about. But I was stuck a long time on, I've got to have the best equipment. I've got to have a camera. I've got to be able to edit it. I've got to be able to do all this. This is live off of my MacBook with no editing at all. And I'm sure you can tell that, but yeah.
The light's good though.
The lighting is good, right? Lights.
Lights.
So if it's that simple, why is it that hard? Why don't people do it?
This goes back to an earlier conversation because I think
quit going back. Just share it.
I think we get stuck in our identity.
Okay.
I think we get stuck in being concerned with what we look like. Obviously not. I should have kept the wig on. I mean, that's what it is, though. You're concerned with putting a garbage product out there. You don't want to look like garbage because you think people are going to perceive you as garbage. So therefore, you don't want to do it, and that slows you down. So when people say start, you're like, I can start, but I can start, but.
Yeah, I think that some of my favorite speech giving advice I ever received was just pretend that everybody's looking at their phone, not paying attention to you anyways, because that's probably what's going on. And most likely that's what's going on here. I'm so happy that Rock and Troll, you've been hanging out with us most today, and the unnamed person that's on as well, that you guys have hung out with us for this long. But in all honesty, there's 1 million people on YouTube right now, and we got 2 paying attention to us. And so it just goes to show that you're not going to build an audience right off the bat.
You're not.
And that's okay. I mean, even if we had 0 people watching, I think we'd still do it because probably I wouldn't turn the record off, and it's just easier to just keep working on the things that we're trying to do right now.
But, I mean, Rock and Troll has no idea what we do for a living, has no idea where we come from, has no idea where we're from, who we are, if we're married to who.
I got married.
Yeah. We're married to each other. That's
no,
right.
No, we're not married to each other.
But you've listened, and I hope that we've sounded intelligent, halfway articulate in what we've been saying. This got you to pay attention, so you're paying attention.
Yeah. So I think the bottom line is you got to pick something you're going to start with.
Yeah.
But let's go back to the question at hand. What are you worth?
What are you worth? Why is it so hard for me to determine that number?
Because you don't know my budget. I think people feel bad. Like if I say I want $250 an hour and that company had planned to spend $500 an hour on that person, I feel like I got a bad deal. But if I come in and I say $250 an hour and that company's planned to spend $125, but they bumped it because they thought I would add that much value, dude, I feel like I've got to over deliver on this because they had this line and they went to that. So is it all relative?
It's all relative. It is.
So can you frame it up in your head? Can I frame it up in my head to be content with whatever number I get? Like if I pick a number that I say I'm good with this number, does it become absent of whatever budget's out there?
I think that's where ego comes back into it for me. And I want to appear humble. Is that an identity thing that I'm constantly dealing with?
But
I want to appear
is not getting taken advantage of.
Right, I know that, but at the same, I'm like, I want to look out. If I'm coming into a company and I'm looking out for the best interest of the company and adding value, then I say, I don't want to take that much because that might hurt you. But I don't know because that created a story.
I think if you know it would hurt them, that would make me work even harder. If I knew that you were going above your budget because you felt I'm going to change how your company fundamentally operates,
yeah,
I'll be there.
It's interesting.
I think it's you have to change how you think about the situation, how you think about how everything's connected. All right, guys, my wife just walked in. That means I got to go because we have to go downtown right now. What I want to do is thank you all so much for joining us. We're going to do this again sometime soon. But as we're going to be signing off, think about what you get paid for. Think about how much value you add and think about how you can leverage that into your next position. Think about where you want to go. Think about what you want to do. And with that, we'll check you guys later. Thank you both so much.